really today's conversation is going to focus on Facebook contests and promotions and how we're seeing brands and people utilizing contests and promotions on their pages, especially after seeing the Pepsi Like machine and everything that's come about as a result of that. So does anybody kind of want to kick us off on what they've seen and what they're seeing as it relates to contests and promotions and Facebook's regulations, if they're being met or are not being met?
Well, I think the Pepsi promotion gathered, or from what I gathered from the reading of the updated promotions guidelines, it sounds like Pepsi is violating the terms of service. But also, I noticed on Section E of promotions, items 3 and 4 are contradictory. It kind of could be read that nothing you do is legal because it says you must not use Facebook's features or functionality as a promotions registration or entry mechanism. And then it goes on to say you must not condition registration or entry upon the user taking any action using any Facebook feature or functionality. So it tells you basically in one time that you can't do anything but use like, and then it says you can't use like. So I think probably we'll go to additional things like gathering an email address and sharing on a wall as terms of registration.
You know, that's an interesting point, Joe, that they're kind of contradictory. And with Facebook coming out, I think late last week, saying that they were going to simplify their advertising and the products that they offer to advertisers, I wonder if we might be in something of a gray period where Facebook is letting a lot go and letting the community, to a certain extent, kind of determine where the boundaries are and what works. And I mean, if I'm Mark Zuckerberg, the bottom line is I want more people on Facebook, and if brands are using the like as a way to get people there, that's okay with me, because then I can monetize those people being on Facebook. And for now that Facebook's a public company, I mean, let's be honest, their primary goal in life is to make business. It's not to provide the best user experience necessarily. It's to generate cash for their stockholders now. So I think we're really entering into a kind of an interesting period where there's a lot of gray with Facebook's terms of service, I think.
I think it's always been there because, from my experience, they haven't really regulated real stringently in the past. Understanding though that 900 million estimated users, probably a challenge to be fair about how they administer their regulations.
I do think it's interesting too. I haven't heard of any major brands having any promotions taken down. Whether that's because they have people on their team who are doing it correctly, and or Facebook really doesn't have the time or the energy or the want to go after them. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I did a Google search trying to find people who had contests and promotions removed, and I can't find it. I can't find it anywhere. And so I'm really interested. I've seen people who I would consider to be very, very knowledgeable in social media running promotions that I believe are, are against Facebook's rules, and nothing's happening to them. And these are leaders in social media. And so it's just really interesting to me to see, is it because Facebook's afraid to go after them? Or is it what Matt just mentioned? I think that that's a valid concept as well. Are they trying to figure out how they can make more money? Because my understanding is through the offers component, that's something that you set up through ads. And so, are they trying to figure out a way to monetize it more? I don't know. I think it is frustrating, though, for brands who are trying to abide by Facebook's rules and who are trying to make sure that they're following the terms of service, and they're seeing others who are benefiting from running what would be considered illegal contests.
Well, it's interesting. If you're Facebook, do you want to go after an entity like Pepsi that is, a multinational, well-known corporation, and raise a stink that way? Or what can raise just as big a stink, really, is a grassroots effort if you shut down mom and pop's donut shop that's running a, hey, like our page and we'll give you half a dozen free donuts every Friday, and you shut that down, well, there's a grassroots effort right there where, the man in Facebook is shutting down this just small-time page that has less than, let's say 100 likes.
Being the man.
Yeah, but honestly, if you're Facebook, it ends up kind of being a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation, because you set up these terms of service that say, here's how we think we want you to run contests, and you can't do this, you can't do that, but you don't go after Pepsi for their ingenious idea of a light machine, which, and make no mistake, I think it's a fantastic, brilliant idea. But then you go after mom and pop donut shop for giving away free donuts on Friday for a like. It's because they aren't shutting the big obvious cases down. They really don't have the, for lack of a better term, moral authority to shut down the smaller people that are violating those same terms of service, even if they wanted to. They've already set the precedent with those larger brands.
Yeah, I agree. I do think the Pepsi machine is an ingenious idea. The one way around this, though, and what all brands, whether they're major brands or small mom and pop, what they really, I think, should be trying to do is to generate leads using Facebook, gathering emails, because, at some point, Facebook or Twitter or whoever could change their terms of service or take away your page, whatever it may be. But if you have a database of emails, you can always continue to market to them. That's not to say you shouldn't continue to build your number of likes and engage with your audience, but ultimately, gathering emails is probably the smart play.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and what if Facebook's algorithm changes again and likes really aren't what causes people to see content? Right now, we know the algorithm's changed, and not everybody who's liked your page is actually seeing your content at this point.
Right.
So what if they change it again and likes become nothing and your reach becomes something? Or, I think it's really interesting to continue to watch how we're just always changing. They're always changing.
It's probably, to that point, it's probably less of an if the algorithm changes, but when it changes. Because again, Facebook is going to continue to tweak to generate the most cash that they can, because they have to report it every quarter to those stockholders. So, I know that sounds super cynical, but that's really the point of Facebook now, is to generate those stockholders a dividend each quarter. So I think that's important to keep in mind, especially as marketers, as we use Facebook, to keep in mind that that's their end goal. It's not necessarily to make the experience as great as they can for users. It's certainly to generate cash for their stockholders.
Well, Matt, I don't think that's cynical at all, and but at the same time, I think that there has to be a balance there. Google has long known that to allow businesses to manipulate their search results makes search results less valuable to people who are searching, which ultimately has the effect of dragging down the traffic on their site. And I think that Facebook really knows the same thing. Yes, they have to generate revenue. They're going to have to report to those shareholders. They're certainly going to want to put advertising programs as well as policies and regulations in place that maximize the revenue. But like any media knows, the value of the media is going to be a direct tie to traffic and users. So the less friendly Facebook is a place for people to visit, the people will come there. So in that vein, I think that they've got this constant juggling match that they're going to have to do, making sure that their privacy policies, the terms of service for the users as well as for the advertisers, they have to do everything that they can to get as many users on board, get them used as frequently as possible, as long as possible, and then creating an environment where advertisers can put their messages in front of those users as often as possible, to the extent that the users will understand, on and on and on. So it's kind of a vicious circle that either goes one way or another.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Michael. That's a good point. I mean, you can't you can't catch the fishes, so to speak, if you don't have the right type of bait. So you have to get people to Facebook in the first place. So you can't completely neglect user experience or make it difficult for people like us to do our jobs on Facebook.
Right.
But you have to balance that against, every 3 months going into the board's meeting room and defending what you've done over the last 3 months to them. So it's a really interesting dichotomy that Facebook has, and really any online media company has at this point.
Well, and I think where this life machine gets really weird, for want of a better term there, is typically it's the media's job, the medium auspicious job, to collect the audience, to gather the eyeballs or the ears together, and then put those in front of the advertiser. Whereas in this case, you've got Pepsi out there basically doing a promotion where they're the ones who are encouraging people to go to Facebook. So if Facebook is saying, okay, so we've built this thing, you're going to get people there, and then you're going to use it to your advantage, and we're going to charge you for that. How is Facebook not going to agree to that?
Yeah, it would seem silly for them not to. I mean,
Absolutely.
It's Facebook not having to do any work to get people to come to where they want them. So
Absolutely.
I can't imagine that Facebook won't be modifying its terms of service in this particular area. It would seem, frankly, silly for them not to.
And I'm sure they already, I mean, obviously, I would assume that they're obviously working with Pepsi and trying to make this all happen. I mean, there has to be developers on the back end. I mean, it's not like Facebook is like, hey, we're going to shut you down for this brilliant idea. Or, I mean, who's to say that Facebook wasn't the one that proposed it?
That's a very good question. The idea that nobody at Facebook knows anybody at Pepsi, and somebody from Facebook and somebody from Pepsi haven't had lunch at a minimum regarding this whole thing before it ever happened would be obviously naive on everyone's part.
I do seriously, though. I want to go stand in line and go like them, and then walk to the back of the line, unlike them, walk to the front of the line, like them, and just totally mess with the stats on the machine and see how. I can't wait to see the case study on it, though, as far as what they're able to develop.
Well, it'll be interesting. I mean, if this is as big a success as it looks like it could potentially be, I mean, how many other different ways can you think of to utilize something like this? I mean,
Oh man.
McDonald's, you're standing in line there and, hey, like us on Facebook and get a
Free ice cream.
the options there are completely endless.